One DNA test just shattered a family story that millions believed for over a decade. Today, we uncover how Jub Jub went from embracing fatherhood to allegedly kicking Kelly Khumalo's son out of home. After a DNA test revealed he was never the father in the first place. If you discovered your child wasn't biologically yours, would your love change, or would you raise them as your own? Comment your honest thoughts below. For years, the walls of Jub Jub's home echoed with the laughter of a boy he believed was his own. Shared breakfasts, school drop-offs, and lazy Sunday afternoons painted a picture of a blended family that, on the surface, seemed unshakable. But behind those walls, quiet tensions were building, tensions neither side fully addressed. When the truth finally surfaced, the same home that once felt safe and warm became the epicenter of heartbreak and confrontation. Jub Jub's career has been nothing short of a roller coaster. Chart-topping hits, public scandals, a fall from grace, and a slow climb back into the spotlight. But even as his music career regained traction, the turbulence in his personal life never fully settled. Fame brought not just wealth and opportunities, but also scrutiny, speculation, and suspicion. When the paternity revelation arrived, it wasn't just a private crisis. It became another headline in a life already overflowing with them. Kelly Khumalo's romantic history has always been a favorite target for tabloids and gossip blogs. Every relationship, whether brief or long-term, was dissected, debated, and sensationalized. Over time, the public began to conflate her professional achievements with her personal controversies, making it harder for her to separate the two. This history of high-profile romances made the paternity twist even more combustible, feeding public intrigue and deepening the emotional stakes for everyone involved. It didn't happen overnight. Long before the test, there were murmurs, whispers from unnamed sources hinting that the boy might not be Jub Jub's biological child. Most people ignored them, dismissing such talk as petty gossip. But for those directly involved, those whispers planted seeds of uncertainty. And once doubt takes root, it can grow quietly, feeding on every inconsistency, every unanswered question, until it demands resolution. The turning point came when the idea of a DNA test stopped being an unspoken thought and became a concrete plan. Whether it was prompted by friends, family, or inner suspicion remains unclear, but the wheels were set in motion. Appointments were booked, samples were collected, and the waiting began. Each day in that limbo carried a silent tension, the kind that turns ordinary interactions into heavy, careful exchanges. When the envelope arrived, it carried more than just lab results. It carried the weight of a family's future. The report stated in clinical, undeniable terms that there was no biological connection between Jub Jub and the boy he had been raising. In that moment, years of shared memories clashed with an unchangeable fact. It wasn't just the truth that stung. It was the finality of it. According to those close to the situation, Jub Jub wasted no time confronting Kelly about the results. The conversation reportedly escalated quickly, voices rising, accusations flying. Old grievances were dragged into the open, intensifying the already volatile exchange. In moments like these, logic takes a backseat to emotion, and both parties walked away more wounded than when they began. Not long after the confrontation, the atmosphere in the house shifted from tense to unbearable. The boy, who had known this place as a safe space, was suddenly told he could no longer stay. Friends and family reacted with shock and outrage, unable to reconcile the sudden change with the years of affection that came before. For the child, it was an eviction not just from a home, but from a life. Kelly Khumalo did not remain silent for long. In private conversations and, later, in carefully worded public remarks, she insisted that the situation was far more complex than people were being led to believe. According to her, the timeline of events had been twisted, with key facts ignored in favor of a sensational headline. She maintained that the bond between Jub Jub and the boy was real, and that love should never be conditional upon biology. In her telling, this was not about deception, but about the messy, unpredictable nature of relationships and parenthood. Whether the public bought into her narrative was another matter entirely. Through all of this, the boy's voice was absent from the noise. Friends close to the family said he withdrew, spending more time alone, avoiding questions he didn't know how to answer. He stopped appearing in public with either parent, a noticeable absence that only fuels speculation. For a child, the collapse of the world they know is not just about physical separation. It is about the sudden instability of identity. In this case, every adult involved had something to say, but the one person most affected carries confusion and pain quietly, far from cameras and microphones. The DNA results didn't just fracture the immediate household. They rippled through the wider family network. Jub Jub's relatives were split, some urging him to forgive and continue the relationship, others convinced that cutting ties was the only logical choice. On Kelly's side, there were those who saw the decision as an act of cruelty, while others viewed it as the inevitable outcome of long-standing tension. This division made family gatherings tense, phone calls shorter, and mutual friends reluctant to take sides. The emotional fault lines were permanent, even if temporary truces appeared from time to time. Once the story hit the public domain, the conversation left the family circle and exploded on social media. Hashtags trended, memes circulated. Strangers debated the morality of Jub Jub's decision in heated comment sections, with some calling him heartless and others praising him for seeking the truth. In the digital age, such debates take on a life of their own, detached from the messy, nuanced reality of the people involved. Each new comment thread seemed to widen the gap between public perception and private reality, making any hope of quietly resolving the matter almost impossible. In South Africa, paternity disputes can have tangible legal consequences. Maintenance obligations, custody rights, and even a child's surname can be affected by the results of a DNA test. While it was unclear whether Jub Jub intended to pursue any formal legal action, the possibility hung in the air. Legal experts weighed in during radio interviews and talk shows, outlining how the law views such situations and how it rarely accounts for the emotional complexity behind them. Behind the scenes, lawyers and advisors were said to be quietly consulted, mapping out potential next steps in a case where every move could ignite more controversy. For Jub Jub, the DNA revelation was not just about legal or financial implications. It was a personal reckoning. Sources close to him described a man caught between feelings of betrayal and the grief of losing a child he had once claimed as his own. Even for someone accustomed to public scandal, this was a wound that cut differently. He had built routines around this boy's presence, shaped parts of his identity as a father figure, and now had to reframe that narrative entirely. In quieter moments, away from the spotlight, it was said that the loss weighed heavily, no matter how publicly. When the dust finally settles on stories like this, it's easy for the public to remember only the shock value, the DNA test, the confrontation, the eviction. But underneath the noise lies a human truth that rarely makes the headlines. The people at the center of these scandals still have to wake up tomorrow and live with the consequences of their choices. For Jub Jub, that means moving forward with a chapter of his life abruptly rewritten. For Kelly, it means defending her perspective in a world quick to judge. And for the boy at the heart of it all, it means growing up with a past he never asked for but will always carry. In the court of public opinion, verdicts come fast and forgiveness comes slow. Yet time has a way of reshaping even the most painful stories. Relationships can shift, wounds can scar over, and new narrative can emerge, though they will never erase what was.